Welcome, friends, to the 52 Coffees podcast. I am your host, Cindee Williams, and I am so glad that you are tuning in today. Every week, I will be inviting extraordinary women who are living exceptional lives, advancing daily, and achieving their dreams. But before we even get started into this episode, this podcast is sponsored by Lead My Life, a dynamic community and coaching platform for women unlocking or designed to help you unlock the life of your dreams. So if you want to know more about Lead My Life, go to leadmylife.com. And today I am so thrilled to welcome the fantastic and fabulous Sarah Donahoe to this episode, who has been, I guess, could I call you my boss?
I don't,
My,
that's a little much, but
yes,
yes, sure.
yes. So she has just been such an influence without even knowing that she's been an influence in my life. And when I thought about doing an episode on core values and culture within our companies and within our small businesses, you and Grattan are exactly who I thought of. So Sarah, if we were to give her a title, she is the operations manager of Sarah Donahoe, the brokerage for which I am a realtor with, and Scout Property Management as well. And I just want to start by you kind of introducing us to your background, because I don't know a whole lot about it. I know you were an educator, but just kind of what is Sarah's background? What's she about?
Sure. Gosh, thanks so much, Cindee. It's an honor to be on this as the podcast is getting going. So, you bet. So I am in real estate, and in one way or another, I think real estate has been part of me since I was a really little girl. But that wasn't my direct path coming through school. I'm sure, like many of the women that are listening, I actually came out of college and wanted to teach. I wanted to share. That was always something that I loved. I was very passionate about literature. So I was an English teacher. And if any of you have come from education, you realize that it's wonderful to work in the classroom, but if you want leadership roles and you want to influence a ton of change, then that's where administration kind of comes in. So my next step was to get my administration credentials and work from there to see what impact I could make in the classroom. It didn't take too long, but I actually ended up going into the publishing and the actual curriculum development and training pretty quickly from there after graduation, where I was able to travel around all around the country, training teachers, administrators, superintendents how to impact change in their classrooms, specifically in the language arts arena. So I went from teaching high schoolers, which I loved very, very much, to teaching adults, which was really fun. And I decided that's something that I could definitely work in for the rest of my life, and I still get to now. It's a really big part of my role with both ERA and with Scout. So the real estate part, I've loved real estate and environments for forever and ever and ever. And I've been licensed well over 28 years now because of my love of environments. I wanted to flip homes. Right. Oh my gosh, I was 23 years old when I think we bought our first flip. So really young when we got started. And my husband, he's an awesome real estate broker, always said, take what you do and come work with the agents, come work with the agents. And I'm like, I don't know, I love teaching and I love training and I also love real estate. So eventually those two worlds got to meld, and I love it. I've been hooked on it ever since then. So I do work in an educational role now with the brokerage. I do sell, still myself, and it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. So that's a little bit about my background.
I love that. And I see this as a consistent theme, that as we get older, that our skills that we started with way back when, it's just like this beautiful bridge that just keeps building, don't you think? And
I think,
yeah,
yes,
I share that with you too, because I have a teaching background, right? So
yes.
I started in the 90s as a teacher. And I love your story. So how
Thank you.
much do you think what you did that you're using now in your position?
I think so much. And I think coming at any real estate's a very, very important life decision. If not for many, it changes your family trees. It's a very, very, very big deal. So the more you can come at that with the heart of a teacher,
Mm.
the more you're going to be able to help families who might not have been comfortable coming into this space or asking more questions, or maybe leaning a little bit further towards their goals and dreaming a little bit bigger. The more likely you're going to be able to help be the bridge for that.
Right.
So you're so right. What you just said is so poignant that women, especially, I think that we discredit our skill set from previous careers way too often when we think about dreaming toward our new careers. So for me, it was a really, really clear bridge, but I use a ton of that. It's the patience, it's the thinking out of the box, it's all of those pieces that come in wherever we're going. Being a good question asker, I think, is something that's so important, especially when we're in sales. Is trying to the more questions we can ask, the more we can understand someone and then help them, and that's also a big part of education. So there's a great amount of building that's gone on.
Yeah, I love that example of just asking questions. I feel like everybody in sales should spend at least 1 year being a teacher.
I agree.
And
I
asking them, and
agree.
it's so huge. There's such an education component to what we do, and it just can't be neglected. And then what you said too, because I suffered from this being a 50-year-old woman who, I felt like I was coming in to real estate like a teenager to a brand new job, learning how to count back change, like
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know what I was doing. And,
Sweating,
and
nervous. Yeah,
yeah, and I would totally negate the fact that, hey, I'm a 50-year-old woman. I have skills and
right.
experiences.
Yes,
It's not a blank slate. And I think a
right.
lot of women, to what you said, totally discredit where they came from. And it's all skills. It's just you're just building on
It's
that.
yes, it's
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
skills. It is.
Yeah.
It the history, the legacy of what you know, that can't be retaught. You can learn your new job, but you
Right.
can learn your new job, but you can't learn to relate. So
No.
people coming into the real estate world, especially if that's something that you're in or you're interested in, whoever you're working with, they're not a realtor. Your client's not a realtor, so they may have been a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, or anything like that. So if that's your background, you have more relatability than you know. So I think, yeah, just to your point, it's invaluable. We've got to really lean into those transferable skills
Right.
and honor those.
So when I came to ERA Donahoe, both you and Grattan, your husband, had just made a transition, or maybe we're a couple years into the transition of
Mhm.
changing kind of the culture and how you set up your company.
Yeah,
And really that's what attracted me to your brokerage is you did not hire everybody who came through your doors. And I liked that because
yeah,
the other places I had been, it was like it was get as many on as you
yeah,
can and see who's gonna stick.
right.
See who's going to produce, but you are like salmon. You did it opposite. You did it
We did.
different. You said, I'm going to follow my own path. So tell me a little bit about that shift that
Sure.
you made and why.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different models in real estate, and I think many different avenues. It's either kind of a warehouse of anyone walking any different path, and then there's the smaller or more boutique, more intentional. And we made that change to be really intentional about how we were spending our time, our energy, and then to honor the group of people that we had there as well. So what you're talking about, gosh, many years ago is we were a brokerage. We helped everyone that we possibly could as far as agents come in, but there wasn't a ton of I would say synchronicity or unison in what our messaging was, who our target client was as a group, and the way that we were going to work with each other. And my husband and I, we both work together, and we spend more time in our work than we do in anything else. So the way, right? I mean, that you just
I
got to
get
be
it.
honest.
I
What
get it.
that's
Yeah.
dinner, that's brushing our teeth, it's work, work, work.
Right.
So it has to matter a
Mhm.
lot because it's where you are spending an abundant amount of time, especially when you're starting a business or you're developing a business. So we said it needs to matter and be really on purpose what we're doing, not just for ourselves, because we want to feel good showing up on a Saturday or answering a call at 10 p.m. that we are pouring ourselves into something that is for the good and that really matters and honors everyone in the brokerage. So we wanted to get really clear on what those were. I believe, putting the words out there and helps with it. It's affirming.
Mhm.
So we took a look at who was on our roster and started to watch the behavior and take a 30,000-foot view of if we were to look at the different values that they all exhibit or the different character traits that they exhibit, What do they seem to get the most excited about? What lights their spark in a positive way? What do they affirm in each other
Mm.
most? And then keep a huge master list of those. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so we were trying to get that big top of the funnel for what our heart, kind of the heartbeat of our company
Mhm.
was, that we were going to use as our make or break, as our hire fire, um, kind of values. So we had a big long list and saw what did people seem to celebrate and honor in each other and look to and depend on in each other traits, who's essentially very collaborative, who shows a lot of entrepreneurialism and others are looking to them for advice. So those character traits. So we ended up narrowing it down to what we ended up honing as our core values. And the key point of that when we presented this to the team, it wasn't that it was top down. It wasn't Grattan and I want these values. This is how we show up, how we want to build this company. It was, we love what we're building here, but it's getting big and it's getting a little bit more wily. And we're, a multi-million-dollar company now. And we can't get away from us because I want to feel just as excited always to answer the phone at 10 p.m. So how do I make sure it's on
Yeah.
purpose? So and then we presented that here are the values that we see over and over and over again that you exhibit, celebrate in each other, and seem to make you the most excited to come to work. And
Mm.
that's what we ended with our core values. And that um, it was a good moment. I won't say that we kept every agent. There was some surgery that was done there on our behalf, and some people self-ejected too because it became a little bit uncomfortable to be in an environment where this was um, so commonly talked about. But that's okay because everyone needs to find the right place for them, and our work represents something specific in the community. It represents a certain integrity in the community, and we just wanted to make sure we were fostering the right environment for that.
Right. And I would say that's the whole point of identifying what you value is that you are getting the right people to sit in the right seats and that
Yeah,
not everybody is your person.
that's
And
right.
it's such an important lesson to learn whatever business you are in is
Right.
that the world is not your client. There are specific people that are going to resonate with you, whether they're your client or they're within your organization. And defining your values is how we find those
That's
people.
right. Oh my God. And I'll tell you that the freedom that those people who really maybe wanted to step more into those values, but they felt sheepish or shy or that it wasn't cool for some other people, they flourished once
Yeah.
we had announced this. And once the right people were all with us, and then we were attracting more of the right people because we were loud and proud about what we represent. They were given so much permission to really kind of fly and dig into that. So it was a beautiful thing to see. Not easy, not always easy, but definitely a beautiful thing to see. And just like you said, from there, it became very simple to identify our target market, who we are and who we aren't.
Yeah.
And just like in many industries, you're marketed to sell to everyone.
Yeah.
But you have to test your skill set against your core values to decide who my target market is.
Right. Right. I would say that there is an intense loyalty
Mhm.
among their people that I had not seen before. And
Oh, that,
and that was I thought that was so beautiful, and that just comes from really identifying. You talked about it. They're empowered
yeah,
because now they feel like, oh, what I believe is celebrated here,
right.
and it's
And that's exactly
encouraged.
it.
And now
Exactly it.
now I feel excited to do it. I remember when I first came to the brokerage, you have every quarter a core value call out.
Mhm.
And I think it was the first time in my adult life that I had received an award.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And you're the core, and you're the queen of exhibiting so many beautiful core values. Oh, that's so fun, Cindee. I love that.
We've been small business owners and, entrepreneurs and just working on our own
Right.
companies, but who from the outside recognizes that and says,
Yeah.
here's your award. And I remember I was like so exciting to
That's,
go, oh, I think it was like for community service or something
yeah.
like that. But
Yeah.
I was thrilled, and
Yep.
it boosted my morale even more and went, oh, wow, I'm recognized for that. I want to do more of that. And so
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah, so that was so cool. So, um, how have the changes that you've impacted in your business, how has that changed your trajectory, your overall business, life, everything? How has that
Mhm.
changed? 'Cause you mentioned working with your husband, and it's true. I've worked with Todd for 32 years,
Right.
work is life.
Work
Life
is
is
life.
work, but it's beautiful. It should
It
all
is.
go together when it's done right. So
It is.
yeah, so how has that, what you did, your shift, how has that impacted kind of everything in your world?
Sure, it makes it a lot less stressful to not worry that you aren't having to walk on eggshells to just preserve someone who is a poor fit
Mm,
necessarily. So if we have someone who is, maybe they're not coming along, they're not showing the kind of integrity that we want to see, or they're anti-collab, collaboration or something like that. uh, Previous to this, we might say, well, it's our job as leaders to make sure everyone feels comfortable and to serve everyone, and that is true to a point. But we can only have so many, I don't want to say offenses, but only so many instances where it's clear that we are not walking the walk by supporting a practice that isn't part of our core values. So this gave us permission as well to be a little bit more effusive in what we believed in, and a lot more relaxed, I would say,
yep,
because it was just so out there that here's who we are, like it or don't like it. But this is, if you're here, you're part of our family, and we will support you, to the end. And that's I would say there's an ease that comes along with it. Also clarity. And you
mm,
do become, when you put this, and I have to say it's almost a vibration out of, this is who we are, the attraction, the magnetism that comes to you for more like-minded people is tenfold.
yeah,
So we grew exponentially after we had this, with more amazing like-minded people, and clients note your core values too. I mean, we have it in our presentations. Here's who we are, and they'll say things like, I've heard about you guys. I've heard about you." And then in the industry as well, that's one of the things we're most proud of, is if you call the show a home, someone will say, "Oh, good, you're from that company. I know
yeah,
I don't have to worry about you doing something different, because it's a badge." It doesn't say there aren't instances where there's, things that aren't perfect. We're human. But it certainly became a lot easier, I would say, to be clear in our identification, and then that kind of business becomes, you become magnetic too.
yeah, yeah. I'd say there is a industry respect for
Mhm.
you because you've been able to
Yeah.
say this is what we stand for, and we put a stake in the ground. This is what we stand for,
Right.
and definitely some respect there. I know for us when we started developing the core values within my husband's and within our cleaning company, 2020 was a year where everybody was calling in sick. It was so hard to find workers to come
Yeah.
clean in the middle of the night.
Right.
And we had our fast food chicken restaurants, won't name them, but they were our one of our biggest clients and still are. And people were dropping like flies from
Yep.
COVID. And we went through 150 employees in just 1 year. And
Oh,
we keep 20 employees on our roster. So that was a lot to cycle through.
yes.
We're like, what the heck is going on? But when we started instituting, when we hired the core values, it's like I was doing the hiring at the time. I remember there was people that would come on the call who were in bed with their head on the pillow. And it is like, really? And so you start applying the core values of what
Yep.
we believe, and the next year, zero, zero
Really
turnover because we hired to people's strengths and what we wanted as a company. It was amazing.
amazing. I remember you sharing an anecdote after that with one particular gentleman, and that struck me. It's across any industry. It doesn't matter what you do, or if you have three people that you work with. The core values, they need to be revisited every quarter so that people are front and center. People want work to matter. It is
Yeah.
so many hours of your day, so make it matter, and what you focus on grows. So when you have those core values and they're up on the wall and they're spoken about, it really, really helps to remind you why you're there, and it kind of ignites that human
Yeah.
element in all of us.
Yeah, I love that. So you recently, ERA Donahoe, and as a brand,
Yeah,
you have to forgive me exactly what the
that's all
title.
right. Yeah,
You won an amazing award, and it's the Jean Francis Memorial Award. So
yeah.
tell me about that because I think the impetus for that, although it was a long time ago, was you making this switch.
I think it was too, because we were nominated not too long after we made that switch, and we were invited to a couple different conferences and did a lot of big talks about the change that we had made, because other brokerages were having a hard time attracting new talent, and we were interviewing and had to start off attracting bringing people on at one point. Because it was, well, we need to give everyone a certain amount of time and the right due diligence and onboarding. So we need to not, and that's the opposite of what happens in our industry. So people wanted to know, how is that happening? Uh, and so we were loud about it and doing a lot of other trainings on it. So I think that was the first time we were nominated, but we didn't win. It wasn't until recently. So the Gene Francis Memorial Award, there's 45,000 agents in all of our brand, and this is the top award for all around companies. So it's who you are, it's what you do, and how you do it, essentially. So top in sales is who's nominated, top in growth is who's nominated, top in giving back, as well as just kind of what you represent in the industry. So your customer feedback. So we are in alliance with a group that goes from here all the way up the 15 highway to Salt Lake City, St. George.
Wow.
So our group, again, second time they've been nominated, and this time was the big win. And I think that the core values between all of us, and being post COVID and being able to be out there a little bit more these last couple of years, helped us definitely win this time. And it's a huge honor, because it isn't just, oh, you sold a lot of real estate, but it's, you did it in a special way. And that means more in the bottom line. No one's on there at the end of their life saying, so glad I made those sales, but you're saying like, oh, I left a good legacy, of that. So that's a cool award for us.
I love that. And
Thanks. Yeah.
you said something there about the legacy that I just love, because I mean, we can either leave an inheritance or we can build the legacy. And we
Right.
were working on focusing in on those relationships, and why does it matter, and what are we building, and who is it for? You're
Right.
building a legacy.
Right.
You're laying a path for people to follow, and you're
Right.
doing something that's very different for our industry, and kudos to you.
Thank you, and you too.
Yeah.
And you've had core values. We came from the same, cut from the same cloth of
Yeah,
our origin. We didn't make this up, but this is brilliant minds put together, and us being able to implement and follow the plan. But it is about that. It is about that legacy. Is your work a story to tell, or is it just an inheritance? Right.
right,
So how
right.
do we make people feel in what we're doing?
Yeah, I would say another thing that stemmed from that I just want to hit on real quick before we finish is that you take the time. This is one of the things that really set it apart for me is how you set up those quarterly meetings, and
Mm,
how you sit down with your agents individually.
yes.
And that was, to me, coming in, I had never experienced that kind of mentorship before.
Mm,
I had been the mentor, but it was so
right.
fun to be able to sit back and have you help me. Can you just talk briefly on how you do that with your agent?
Sure. Yeah. Well, 12 months is a long time. We gotta make that a little bit shorter. So it's important, and we sit down anytime anyone needs us, but very much on purpose to go over a quarterly plan every 3 months, to revisit where are we going, what are our short-term goals. So that's a time to connect, to just kind of land the plane and re-look at infrastructure. And I think that it definitely helps to have those shorter term goals. The bullseye is so fuzzy when we just make annualized goals. And I
Mhm.
might not see someone, if they don't pop into meetings or whatnot. So I just, that time is critical to me on the calendar. If we're not planning, we all know what happens. Your life is really hoping that you're going to give it a plan. Otherwise, it's going to just take it away, right? You're gonna just roll with whatever's coming at you. So yes, that is a part of our company that's important, is your onboarding, your initial business plan, and then you're tweaking and reflecting every quarter. And then we hold every Monday a call as well for people who want some weekly just accountability, and it's you showing up to hold yourself accountable, and us celebrating that you're there, and offering any feedback and encouragement too. So it's sort of at the caliber of what anyone needs. If you need annual, you need quarterly, and then if you want that intensive, then we're eye weekly, a little bit more on a Zoom. So but it's important. It definitely helps. Got to be keep eye on the game. Life will get away from you.
Yeah, and I feel, especially well, really in multiple industries, there's a feeling, especially when you're working in this like a remote type environment, you feel
Yeah.
isolated.
Yes.
And the walls
Yes.
just kind of come in on you and you're like, Is there anybody out there?"
A
And
100%.
yeah, so you provide a hub, a connection point
Yep.
where people can come and say, okay, I have these questions, and you're there. You're actually
That's
there. So you feel
such a
like,
better way to say it than what I said. Yes, that's
oh,
what
right.
you, the way you said it is perfect. But yes, it is. It is isolating. Entrepreneurship is scary. We don't learn and grow in a vacuum. We tend to just kind of play it safe. So the more we can, hold hands and sort of rise each other up, the better. The better.
Yeah, lovely. So I'm going to ask you, just kind of in closing here, before you're going to tell me where we can find you, but what book do you have
Mm.
that has kind of it stands out as like something that you would really recommend to somebody getting into this industry or starting a small business? What stands out?
Oh, have you? I mean, have you already gone through traction? I don't want to
Yeah,
be how many people have
no,
said it. Yeah.
no, it's your book. Yeah.
That would be it. That would be it. And both of our companies are built separately and very, very intentionally between the property management company and this, and they have their own core values, their own set of level 10 meetings and purpose and passion. And they're built right on from Gina Wickman's traction is what I would say, EOS. And then I also would add, many people don't listen to the follow-ups. So there are a couple of other offshoots there that I've done on Audible several different times that help support traction
Mhm.
that are really, I can't think of one right now, but it tells the story of a Minnesota company going through it all.
Oh,
Uh,
I'll have to look it up
but
and
it's
put it in the notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in the notes because that was awesome to hear it going through of actually the first person of the whole thing of a real live company. And
Oh,
it's intense at some points, but it's
yeah.
really was really helpful to be able to rocket fuel. It might be called rocket fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe yeah.
I
Well,
think so.
anyway, we'll get it. We'll get it.
I'll
We'll
get it
we'll find
down.
it.
We'll get it down. But
Yeah.
traction is definitely one of my favorites, just
Right.
for how to build your small business, just from the
Right.
get-go, or any business. It's awesome. So
Agreed.
yeah. So Miss Sarah, where can we find you? Connect with you?
Please find me on we're Facebook and Instagram, and you can follow ERA in general. So it's ERA Brokers California, or just me. I'm on there as well. I'm not as great at posting as I can, but I am a good person. I do model outsourcing some things, so I don't ever miss it for my clients on their behalf. But yes, I am certainly there, and it's just my name, just my name. So I hope to see you and connect with anyone or any women, especially that are in business or launching all of this. You're in the right place if you're listening to these podcasts. But I'm a resource locally in Southern California for anyone too.
Yes, and you are amazing. Well, thank you so much for Sarah for coming on and just for being such an extraordinary woman. You are
Oh,
living an exceptional life, and I have just seen you advance daily, and you're achieving your dreams, and there's so much more out there for
yeah.
you. Keep on
Oh,
going. So I'm
thank you.
looking forward to next week. So join us, and thanks again for coming on.